Hey guys, thanks for being with us today. My new book, 15 Ways to Live Longer and Healthier, that's our prayer for each one of you, a long, blessed, healthy life, full of energy and vitality, and we just declare that over you and your family. But the principle is, you know, as your soul is healthy, many times our emotional well-being will affect our physical well-being. So I got my beautiful wife, Victoria. She's with me in all of them. My friends Clayton and Ashley Hurst. They head up our marriage and family and relationship ministry here at Lakewood. You guys do an awesome job. You do the Spark Conference coming up as well in a few months. But thanks for being a part. And I had you guys, because I had that chapter in there about dealing with difficult people, because I think sometimes our relationships can cause us stress and worry and frustration and strife, and that all affects us physically as well. But thanks for being with us, and what's going on?
No, I think it's true. I think a lot of times it starts with how you're thinking. You know, it starts, I know for Ashley and I, we start off every morning and make sure our mind is right, you know, and looking at things the way God wants us to see things. I think a lot of times when you're dealing with a difficult person, you know, you definitely want to take the high road. But if you don't predetermine that early on in the morning, you get in the heat of the moment, and sometimes you'll say things that you wish you wouldn't have said, or maybe respond, you know, differently than what you would originally do. And I think for us, we realize that, you know what, we've got to have our mind right and say, you know what, God, we're going to let you defend us today. If we face a difficult situation, we're going to take the high road. And I remember a story that my mom told. You know, they were in a season of their marriage where it's not that my dad was being difficult, they just weren't seeing eye to eye, you know, and that happens in marriage. And but she told me, she said, you know, I'm just going to go to the church and pray with some women, and we're going to get our husbands right and make sure that they, you know, that they deal with it the right way. And so I gave her a few weeks, and I called her back, and I said, hey, Mom, how's that prayer meeting going? And she said, well, we're not praying so much for our husbands anymore. And I said, really? She said, yeah, God's still dealing with us. And what she told me was that, you know, she said, I needed to change some ways, the way I was thinking, you know, and because of that, my dad saw a change in her, and their relationship mended, and, you know, they weren't really having the difficulty. But I think it always starts in your mind and how you see things.
Yeah, we have a lot of couples that will come to us and say, fix this person. And we're like, well, you can't change them. You can't control the way they respond, but you can control the way you respond and the way you act. So first, work on yourself. If you see there's a problem in your relationship, start with you. Get alone with God and see what you need to change in the situation.
Yeah, that is so good. And Clayton, Ashley, tell me some of the, you know, you deal with the couples here. Just any tips, just like you're doing, any more tips you can give us to how do we have healthier relationships?
Yeah, I think like Ashley said, I think when you take on the pressure of trying to change someone else, you're really not equipped to do that. You know, I think a lot of times when we talk to couples and we let them know, hey, no matter how hard you try, you know, you're never going to be able to change your spouse. I know early on in our marriage, I realized really quickly that I was never going to change her, you know, and I think when you put that pressure on yourself, you realize that I can't do that. I'm not qualified to do that. So what I can do is I can change me. So God, how can I change the way I think about this person or the way I respond? And a lot of times those small steps will lead to a big change.
Yeah, and we tell couples there's 4 needs you can only get from God. And sometimes we try to get those from other people, and it's purpose, identity, security, and acceptance. And so we've started every morning saying, God, my purpose can only come from you, my identity, my security, and acceptance. And when you get that inside of you, then when someone upsets you, it's like, okay, wait a second. My identity comes from you, God. I don't need to get my identity or my security or acceptance from that person. I get it from you alone. And that really gets you on the journey of choosing joy, like you talk about in your book. That oil of joy just comes on you because you've got it right with God on the needs that you can only get from Him and you can't get from somebody else.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. Victoria, how do you're so good with relationships and just, you know, having healthy relationships. Any tips that you have?
Well, you know, it's if you're talking about a spousal relationship, you know, that's so important because you're with this person and you expect something from this person. And I think that's the key. It's what you're expecting. You're expecting them to be perfect. You're expecting, like you said, to meet my needs, to make me happy. And you can't put that expectation on anyone because really the only person that can make you truly happy and fulfill those things is God and your relationship with Him. But when I found, like, if there's a difficult person in my life, what I know this sounds funny, but truly, if I'm going to be around them and I know that they can trigger me, or they can say something, or it's the same old again, I have a rehearsed answer. And I think about that in advance. When they do this, what am I going to say? You know, if it's as simple as that is so interesting, you know, or whatever this pat answer is, and I've already rehearsed it in my mind, knowing that you're not going to catch me off guard. You know, and I'm going to be in control of my own tongue. I'm going to be in control of my thoughts and my attitudes. So if I know that in advance, I'm already ready. And I'm not ready for them to do something wrong. It's just that I want a gentle answer, the Bible says, turns away wrath. So if you have a gentle answer already, and you think, you know, I'm going to be in this discussion, and if they bring this up, or if, you know, this is this hot topic again, I've got a gentle answer. And I already know this. If I'm going to get along with this person, I have to already know this in advance. Because I think that's when you can start working things out in your relationship. Because the truth is, my dad always said this to me. The thing that, he said this before I married Joel, he said, if there's anything that you want to change in this relationship, you have to know that marriage isn't going to change it. You know, that it's only going to get worse. And what he meant by that was, it's not that the person's going to get worse, it's that it's going to aggravate you more as the years go on. You know, it's going to get under your skin more. So I have noticed, you know, there's some things that Joel, he's going to be his way and I'm going to be my way, and I can try to change, but it usually defaults back to that area. So I realize with compassion, you know what, maybe this person doesn't have that to give me. That's not who God made them to be. And I can't try to get something in me filled with something that someone doesn't have. It's like going to McDonald's and asking for surf and turf. They don't have it. So you have to understand that and have compassion on that. And so I think when we begin to understand one another, if you want a relationship to work, we're talking about dealing with difficult people right now, difficult people, if you want the relationship to work. And it's called giving grace. I mean, I think I've dealt with difficult people where I have tried to be the doormat to make them like me. I have tried to say the right things and do the right things. And it didn't really matter what I did or said. It wouldn't change it. And I remember this one situation I told Joel, I said, it's so frustrating. I have done everything to be nice. I have bent over backwards. And he looked at me one day and he goes, well, quit being a doormat. And I go, what? And he's like, well, quit letting them walk on you. And so I made a decision that day. I'm going to be who I was created to be. I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm just not going to be a doormat. I'm not going to try to bend over backwards for this person. And you know, as years and years and years have passed, this person has been much kinder to me. And I have been like feeling really good about myself, that I didn't let myself become another person, to become bitter, to become hardened. So I think there's a lot in dealing with difficult people. Is it a relationship that you deal with every day and you have to deal with? Or is it a relationship that comes around every now and then and you have to learn how to deal with it, you know? So I think that's really key. I think the most important thing is don't change who you are. You know, either with a root of bitterness or trying to be someone else to make that person like you. And just be kind, be who you were created to be, you know, and just have mercy on some people. But like in our marriage, I think there's probably things that still, you would love to change about me. But you know they're never going to change.
No, I think that these are great points. And then sometimes there's people that it's not a spouse, it's somebody at work. They're not going to go away. And I think that's where we have to choose to be the eagle and rise above it. Because, you know, like you say, you're not going to let them take my joy. We can't make them do what's right. And sometimes you can't get away from, you'll never get away from all the difficult people. And I like that, what Aldous said. They're great principles. And I go back to some of that too, Clayton, that you said that, you know, you make up part of it is make up my mind in the morning that I'm going to stay in peace today. And it's like you said, Victoria, as well, deciding ahead of time that I'm not going to let the people at work or the traffic and, you know, dealing with a spouse, it's the same way, but I think some of these relationships are things that we didn't choose. It's just going to be life happening. And, you know, the alternative is you know, let the guy in traffic ruin your day and you come home sour and somebody at the office is stealing your joy. Well, if they don't change, I think what we're saying in part is we can change. We can rise above it. You know, I didn't let them steal my joy. And so I think that's an important part of keeping your soul healthy. But guys, y'all deal with people all the time, and good people, but just, again, helping people have strong relationships. And just I want to give you the floor a little more. Anything you can tell about just how do we strengthen relationships? How do we make them healthier?
To me, I think one of the things that we talk about, especially in relationships or in marriage is an ongoing educational course that you'll never graduate from until one of you takes your last breath.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think it's a daily choice. It's waking up every morning, but it's realizing that if you're going to have a great relationship, you've got to work on it every day. You know, the Bible talks about you need wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You know, and I think finding that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I was talking to a couple this weekend, and I encouraged them. It's like, listen, this is where you are in your journey of marriage. Find somebody that's a little bit further in front of you, and find a mentor. Take them out for coffee. You know, find some things that you can add to your toolbox to have a stronger relationship that you can begin to implement yourself. And I think if we wouldn't have done that, you know, I think I don't really want to think about where our relationship would be, but I think it's something that you have to work on every single day. And I think any marriage can work itself out if you're willing to gather that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding.
Yeah, you know, it's about putting a priority on your relationship, just like on your job. If you want to be strong and do well at your job, what are you going to do? You're going to work hard, you're going to read books, you're going to go to workshops. Same with marriage and your relationships. If you want to have a strong relationship, you've got to work really, really hard at it. We sat down with a couple one time, and they were not only married, but they were going into business together. And so they thought they were doing okay, but things really got rocky because they were complete opposites, and they were frustrating each other. They were both being crows instead of eagles. And I remember the husband said, "There is no plan B. There is no plan B. We will never get divorced. There's no plan B." And I said, there is a plan B. A horrible marriage, if you don't change and see each other's weaknesses as really strengths and work together, not only in your marriage, but in your business, you know, to rise higher and do well. And that was, what, 6 years ago? And they chose to work on their marriage. They chose to rise above and put on the oil of joy and choose to look at each other and love the differences in one another. And now they're thriving in their marriage and in their business.
That's so good.
You know, Pastor, I heard you say not too long ago about living in a constant state of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Man, that's to me, I think that about that couple. But I think that's where we have to be. You know, if you're going to take your relationships to higher levels and soar like the eagles, I think you have to make that conscious decision every day to live in a state of forgiveness, no matter what you're facing, no matter who you're talking to.
Yeah, not one and done, but continually forgiving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're talking about, you know, marriage relationships, and I think you have to be able to let the other person be right. I think you have to be able to acquiesce to the other person. I think most of the times we're trying to get to the same place. We just have two different ways to get there, and that's where the conflict comes. It's like, but I want to do it this way. Well, I want to do it this way. We're going to the same place. We're just taking two different routes, and I think until we can learn to let the other person, you know, drive sometimes, let the other person lead sometimes, and not always have to be the one that's driving it. I think for a man and a woman, because a woman needs to be, you know, that shows love to her when you trust her, when you say, I've seen your track record. I know, you know, I know who you are. I can trust you with this. That is her love language. To a guy, it's like, I respect you. I know you know what you're talking about. So if we can't learn to do that for one another, I think that you're never going to have the fulfillment that you really would have. And like, there's many things that I think, now, you know that, Joel, I don't know that. And so, but when I know something, I want him to listen to me. I want him to understand. I want him to say, you know what, I see in you, or I see that this pattern that that's good. Let's do it that way. And I just think that's the way it has to work. It's got to be a two-way street, a give and take situation.
Yeah, it's so good. Clayton Asher, y'all have a book too. What's your book called?
Hope for Your Marriage.
Hope for Your Marriage. You can get that on Amazon and pick up mine too. But let me tell you this. When do our marriage classes meet, and can they take them online here at the ministry?
Yeah, we have a marriage class after every one of our services. Every week we're going over different topics and different things to add that value. And then we also have an online class that happens the fourth Sunday of every month. And so you can get all the information on the church website. But yeah, we're always trying to add value to relationships and to marriages as much as we can.
And then we have our big Spark Marriage Conference that's happening in November. That we have bring in the best of the best speakers, and we have people that travel from all over to come to that. It's an awesome weekend.
It is coming up soon, guys. In November, you can check the website out. Thousands of people come to it. But thank y'all so much for being with us, and thanks for investing in so many relationships around the world, helping us to stay strong. But guys, we love you too, and we believe that we all going to have to deal with difficult people, but you can do it. You can be the eagle. You can strengthen relationships, and we're just going to pray a prayer of blessing over you. Lord, thank you for all of those listening today. Lord, I just thank you that healing, wholeness, strength, and victory is flowing into them, Lord, that you would let them live long, healthy lives. Help us to keep our souls clean, Lord, our souls healthy, Lord. And thank you, even today, you're speaking to us, Father, healing sick bodies, restoring relationships, freeing anyone from anxiety, depression, addictions, chronic pain. Lord, I thank you today is a new day, a breakthrough day. I just speak your healing and victory in Jesus' name. Thanks so much for being with us, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.